Experts say you should try to spend no more than 30% of your income on rent. Well, that makes sense until you have no choice but to spend more to provide a roof for your family.
There's a lack of affordable housing in our community. Local leaders know it and are working on solutions, but it's not an easy problem to solve. When we met with Erin Powers at her Portage apartment, we sat on the floor. That's because she doesn't have furniture. She can't afford it.
There are a lot of nights I have spent crying myself to sleep.
Powers moved to Portage with her son from Florida to be close to family. Right now she works and goes to school, hoping her future degree will one day lead to a higher paying job. But for now, why choose a city you have trouble affording?
Schools are a huge part of the reason why. The schools here are amazing. My son has an IEP and they have extensive services for him. The other thing is we feel safe here.
Portage is a safety net, but a net with too high of rent.
I think my hometown needs to do a lot better, and it's heartbreaking to me because I love Portage.
The mayor and the city council has charged me with looking at ways of doing more affordable housing.
New Portage City Manager Joe Lamargo is feeling even more pressure to find affordable housing. Construction of a new FedEx distribution center in the city will lead to hundreds of jobs and add to the need for more affordable housing. But it's not as simple as putting shovel to dirt and building.
But really the challenge is the requirements for them to get federal dollars, and it's the MSHDA requirements. Those are very stringent, and part of the reason why it is that there's such a demand all over the state.
MSHDA is the Michigan State Housing Development Authority. The state agency allocates tax credits for affordable housing, credits that are needed to make the projects financially feasible for developers. One project which did get approval in Portage is the brand new Selenon Park.
The ability to walk to a grocery store, or to a doctor's appointment, or to school, or to a job is really important for folks that are having enough trouble just paying rent, let alone paying for a car.
Developer Carl Kunda shows us around Selenon Park. For this project, he says a bus stop helped land the funding. But a town like Portage, without a lot of dense housing bunched together, can be a roadblock to landing tax credits. City leaders are looking for ways to make the town more walkable, which could open the door to more projects. Projects Powers tells us need to happen.
Just because someone is working very hard and not earning as much as somebody else does not make them less of a person. The human condition is that we all want community.
That new Portage facility, Selenon Park, has 74 apartments. The waiting list to get in is more than 500. Coming up on Wednesday morning, Hannah Knowles will break down the need for affordable housing in Kalamazoo and why recent developments aren't necessarily meeting the mark. It remains a barrier in Kalamazoo's effort to expand city living.
In many of Michigan's largest counties, the number of affordable apartments or other rental options stands at less than 40 units per 100 families. News Channel 3's Hannah Knowles joins us live from downtown Kalamazoo. And Hannah, city leaders say despite new construction, there's still a shortage of reasonably priced places to live.
Yeah, the city of Kalamazoo, home to more than 75,000 people and growing fast. This building behind me, just one of the many new apartment buildings in the downtown area. And just like any other city, officials say as the area starts to expand, housing becomes a major concern.
3.
You see it everywhere. New buildings popping up, old ones being torn down. With new development comes more people and a need for housing.
I think where our biggest barrier in Kalamazoo is there's not a lot of choices. It's either, a 100-year-old house in Vine or it's an apartment downtown. There's kind of like nothing much in between.
In 2015, city officials wanted to know what the demand would look like to live in downtown Kalamazoo come 2020. Fast forward 5 years, the results are in, and here's how they stack up. The study looks at 4 areas that make up the city of Kalamazoo: the Vine neighborhood, Portage Street corridor, the heart of downtown, and the north side. Data predicted the demand would require more than 1,400 new urban housing units. This includes 675 apartments, 140 townhomes, 100 lofts or condos, and 75 single-family homes. However, fast forward to now, that's not what's happening in the city.
No townhouses have been built. No loft condos have been built.
Instead, about 500 new apartments are on the market and 10 single-family homes, none of which fall into the affordable housing category. Are we needing these high-end luxury apartments?
I think that's what we're trying to get at as well. Like, what is the price point that these apartments need to be at for affordability?
Meet Greg Taylor.
Unfortunately, it costs almost as much to build in Kalamazoo as it does to build in Chicago.
He's an owner of Kalamazoo's newest and most expensive apartment building, The Exchange.
The reality is we have to have those types of rental rates to afford to be able to build a project like this, which this project is a $54 million project.
As construction wraps up,
we're trying to play this out to see just how much demand is down here.
he's working to finish leasing the apartments and find businesses to fill the empty spaces. A one-bedroom apartment can cost you an average of $1,500, a two-bedroom jumping to $3 grand.
It's going to take a little bit of time to absorb all of these units, but more and more, I'm completely convinced that we're building into the right trend.
But the question on many residents' minds, was it worth it for the city to invest 10 years, millions of dollars, to now have empty apartments sitting and not being filled?
You have to take some risks in terms of, it was an empty parking lot, kind of lighting in the middle of the city. Our hope is always that, those apartments will fill, that people will find Kalamazoo attractive.
The city is working to fill the affordable housing gap here in the downtown area. 2 projects currently in the works are slated to be completed by 2021. You can learn more about those on our website. That's WWMT.com. Reporting live in Kalamazoo, Hannah Knowles, News Channel 3.
This week, we're looking closer at the need for housing in Kalamazoo County and how it's affecting current and future residents.
Today, News Channel 3's Jason Poor joins us live with how the cost of rent compares to the cost of a mortgage and what long-term questions you should get answered before you sign on the dotted line. Jason.
Laura Kirk, new developments are popping up all over the place in Kalamazoo right now, and while there's a need for housing, many of these new apartments aren't cheap. In fact, some of them charge more for monthly rent than the average mortgage payment in the area. What you save can add up to a difference of 6 figures in the long run.
Let's say you knock down your housing bill by $500 a month. Doing the math, that equals $6,000 of savings in a year.
$6,000 saved over 3 years, giving you a total of $18,000 in savings. If you look at just a 7% rate of return over 30 years, which is typical for like a mortgage, for example, you're talking about a future value of just over $165,000.
Financial advisor Matt McDonald says the earlier you set your retirement goals, the better, because every penny saved matters.
Where you live can make all the difference. December 2019 data calculated by Jayquay Realtors shows that in the greater Kalamazoo area, the average monthly mortgage payment is $1,200 a month. Some apartment complexes, as well as future ones, list single-bedroom units at $1,500 a month. With a home, McDonald says you can save money and have more space.
However, he says there's more to think about. McDonald tells us focus on debt, income, and the amount of time you expect to live there.
If you're carrying a lot of debt, student loan debt, car debt into a home ownership, it may affect your loan. It also impacts your ability, along with cash flow, to afford those things that are going to pop up as a homeowner. New furnace, $7,000. New roof, $10,000 to $15,000. You need to be able to afford those repairs as a homeowner.
McDonald says a good rule of thumb, keep your monthly housing costs at 20 to 25% of your monthly income.
You can save on a cheaper apartment as well. Separate data on rent shows the median monthly rent payment in Kalamazoo at just over $700 a month. That's less than half the price of some of these luxury apartments. To see the data broken down, look for this story on our website or in our mobile app. Live in Kalamazoo, Jason Poor, News Channel 3.